I went to my leader and I'm like, I'm going to specialize in private aircraft. They were like, what?
Can you describe with us some of your most memorable deals?
It was a 1993 Challenger. The owner he was in the Hall of Fame for baseball. I had no experience when I started. I was like, okay, I'm ready to do insurance. You study, you do the licensing, and then you get thrown in and nothing is the same as the test. Wait, what is this? So it's fun.
Hello and welcome. My name's Tom Lelio. I'm your ultimate jet guide. And today we're pulling back the curtain on private aviation to help you buy and sell private jets with no experience necessary to get started. Today we're pulling back the curtain on aviation insurance again. I know it seems like we have a lot of insurance agents on the channel, but this is really great because this is an opportunity for us to broaden our horizons, to not just look at aviation sales as brokering whole aircraft, but now, considering aviation sales as broader. Like we could talk about charter broker, we talk about aviation insurance sales, which is what my guest is going to talk about today. So I'm super excited to be welcoming Samantha Money. Yes, that is her last name. She's with the Baldwin Group, which is an independent insurance agency. She's a certified advisor of personal insurance, specializing in aviation insurance for ultra high net worth individuals seeking a mid to large cabin class aircraft. So Samantha, thank you so much for hopping on the podcast, especially on short notice. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. Big fan of the
Awesome.
show.
Oh yeah, right. Thank you. I appreciate that. You're the subscriber. Thank you so much. It's great to finally meet you. Well, let's hop right into it. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into aviation.
Yeah, I started in private client insurance. So I work with family office, wealth advisors on ultra high net worth accounts that were focused more on insuring their estates and auto and umbrella. And I did that for a really long time. And I started getting clients that were purchasing aircraft. And when they purchased it, I'd go to a broker because I had no idea what any of it meant. And it was just so exciting and intriguing to find out more about the coverages. So I started on the weekends listening to podcasts and going to events and reading, and like, this is total aviation nerd. But it sucked me in. The industry just sucked me in. And once I started focusing on the aircraft, it was like there was no going back for me. So
how long ago was that?
A few years. So I've been in the insurance industry for over a decade now. And it's been my specialty for a while now. So
and what kind of, if you don't mind me asking, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. What kind of podcasts and resources were you listening to? Was it like MBAA stuff? Was it?
Yeah, it was a mix of everything. I mean, look, you were one of the first people actually in the industry that I followed. And so, I would listen to yours. I would listen to all sorts of, I'll admit one of the other first ones was Preston Holland. Hey, Preston.
Yep.
And so, I just started listening to people that were in my network and kind of gauging different avenues, because even though it had nothing to do with insurance, it was really important to me to understand all the different industries within the industry. So, the financing and the aircraft sales and, even the aircraft attorneys, it all affects what I do. And so I want to understand also what's going on with everybody as a whole so that we're all united kind of on one front. So my husband would come in and I'd be watching like YouTube videos on aircraft. So, like lifestyle of the rich and famous, he'd be like, what are you watching? So, it was kind of a mix of everything. And yeah, I mean, there's so many people that have incredible, we're really lucky.
You were doing insurance for ultra high net worth individuals. Then you got into specializing within aviation. Is there anything specific? Like, what is a typical pathway for someone to go from zero, watching YouTube videos to selling aviation insurance to ultra high net worth individuals. You had a few steps. I imagine like you first had to get an insurance license, then you had to work with someone that was working with these ultra high net worth individuals that actually put like aircraft transactions in front of you to deal with. And then from there, you're like, wow, I really like this. Let me specialize. Maybe there was further training in aviation, or can you walk us through like what does that pathway typically look like for someone?
There are a lot of agencies that you can go straight into aviation. You don't need to have any background, and they can teach you all about insuring the plane and focusing on getting the aircraft and the operation covered. I think for me, my trajectory was a little different because having the private client background, I really was focused on risk management and not just protecting the asset, but also protecting the client because I was so
Mm.
making sure that they weren't going to lose their wealth on the private client side. So, you know, for me, it's a lot of risk management. So I think you can go a couple ways. You can go straight in and just start learning about all things aviation, or you can always start on a different route like I did and then kind of make your way. And it kind of benefits you having all of these other skills that and relationships that I had and bringing them to what I do now.
Mm. So did you approach your office and be like, "Hey, we should do a aviation thing," or did they have an aviation project coming and they're like, "Hey, you'd be the person for a great fit." So now you had a mentor, or were you figuring out all on your own? Like, what did that process kind of look like?
What that looked like was I went to my leader and I'm like, I'm going to specialize in private aircraft and insuring it. And they were like, what? so, um,
Excuse me. Can you describe with us kind of some of your most memorable deals? Maybe it's your first deal or transaction that you put through, or maybe it's a recent transaction. One of the reasons why you and I were able to connect was because of your LinkedIn post about, the importance of pilots in a given transaction. So can you share with us maybe one or two of your most memorable deals?
yeah, I mean, the first deal got, I, I'll have to admit, like, I don't know how much I knew what I was talking about and I knew about the
Ooh.
coverages, but I definitely, I don't know, mix of uncertainty and the experience just, it's funny looking back. It was a 1993 Challenger and it was for an owner of course, the owner was, he was in the Hall of Fame for baseball. So I was very nervous because that's a lot of pressure on a first deal. You don't want to screw up. So I feel like that was obviously an interesting one. I think the ones for me that really are memorable are the ones that you get creative to make them work and
Mm.
like help the client. So I had one for a client. He was so specific. He only wanted this really broad, and this isn't even like a crazy account, okay, but he wanted like a broad pilot warranty. All he wanted. He didn't care about price, he didn't care about anything. That's all he wanted. And of course, all the carriers were being super strict about, you know, everything being a specific way. And
Yeah. That
it,
that broad pilot warranty,
yeah,
that's
like I'm
not
talking
even
like
as
the
many
ones from
people
like,
to be able to fly it as
a year
possible.
ago that don't exist anymore, really. So I ended up getting him, pretty decent terms at first and like the best that I could, as broad as I could get. But it wasn't good enough. I was like, no, I got to keep working this. And so I went back to one of my underwriters like the day before. I'm like, hey, last chance. Like they're gonna move to X company. And the underwriter ended up writing the broadest warranty. And it's like stuff like that where, calling the client and being like, I did it. I got it done. Um, I feel like those are memorable because it makes you feel good as a broker because you're helping the client get what they need. You're also giving good business to the company. So you're also helping your company because it's a partnership both ways.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think another example, just I had a really large account that I went after and I did not get it the first year. And I went back at it and I found some major gaps. And again, this was also a really ultra high net worth individual. And
Oh,
being able to point out, um, oh my God, you had it,
exposure.
well, he owned a helicopter actually, and it was just atrocious what was going on. And so you also feel like you're helping people too. Like I'm like, I saved you from a major gap if something happens. So it's kind of like those deals where you either find major gaps or you get something accomplished that make you feel really good.
Can you describe a day in a life? Now, maybe not for yourself as a partner and doing it, and now you're kind of doing
Yeah.
your thing, especially for someone who's looking to get into aviation sales, maybe through the lens of insurance. What should they expect, their first couple of days to look like?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of wild. It's no days are the same. So that's why I really like it and why I think it's so exciting is that no day is the same and no client is the same. Every single thing that you work on, it's got something unique kind of twisted on it. But one day I might be structuring a complex corporate flight department situation, and then the next day I'm just talking to, you know, a private buyer who's looking for a Gulfstream and trying to figure out the pilot requirements and how we can get them to not have to have a buddy pilot and things like that. So I feel like the life every day is different. It's some days you're quoting a lot, some days you're talking with underwriters a lot, some days you're networking a lot and just doing Zooms with people. I like to also do a lot of networking and get to know people in the industry because I just think, again, even everybody connects in a different way with what you're doing. And so, um, yeah, I think meeting with clients, it's every day is just a handful of, I mean, in the beginning, the first 2 days, I mean, it's probably shadowing someone and trying to figure out what you're even doing. But yeah, it gets really complex and exciting the more you do it. I think that it's extremely exciting.
What kind of person or personality usually thrives? And I'm sure there's different personality types that could thrive, but like what are some things that stand out to you of like, okay, if you are like this, that's great. Or if you're like this, like maybe it's not going to be a good fit. Like can you give us
Yeah.
some insight what
I
that
think you have
looks like?
to be, and I think you would agree with this, Tom, for any sales. I think if you're in sales, you have to be driven and you have to want to work. And I think that I know that sounds crazy, but it's like if you're a driven person who obviously is outgoing enough and you have to be okay with making a fool of yourself or not knowing
Mhm.
if you're saying the right thing or doing the right thing. Fast-paced environment. You have to be able to multitask. Oh my God, you have to be able to multitask.
Is it mostly inbound calls or outbound calls? Like what kind of
It's
traffic are
both.
you usually
It's both. I do a lot of business on my own, and then I also have
doing?
people in my office who will be like, "Hey, I have a client who's purchasing an aircraft." So it comes both ways, but I would also say you have to think outside the box. You have to be a problem solver, and relationships have to mean something to you because you're building relationships not only with the client but again the underwriter and
Oh my gosh, yes. Yes. Yeah, I dabbled in insurance for a little while. Nothing huge. Like my father-in-law is an insurance broker, and so we were a nationwide captive agent at the time, and just smiling and dialing for, um, auto and home insurance. And so I, the underwriter thing was so important because like I could get people to quote all day, but knowing the right risks that I knew my underwriter would actually be
yes,
successful with
and that they
is
can
huge.
trust you, that they're placing good business and that you're almost like frontline underwriting and doing your due diligence. Because if they don't trust you, you're not going to get anywhere in the whole business.
Mhm.
I'd also
Mhm.
say too, having like a little bit of that risk management
Mm.
personality also helps because again, you're you kind of got to look at, I mean, insurance is about risk. So it's really wanting to help people and protect people
Yeah.
from the unimaginable.
Mm. Yeah, so the ability to look ahead,
Mhm.
that's and I think that's also, I think that's also important because you're looking ahead so that you can protect somebody, but it comes. Oh, what I was going to say is that's why it's important. I think that people have to understand in aviation and when you're dealing with high net worth individuals, when you're playing at this high of a level with your clients, that's why it's really hard for someone who fresh out of college, 21, 22, with not a lot of life experience to get in the door because they haven't seen as much. And so they don't have the ability to look ahead around corners that they just haven't experienced. And it doesn't necessarily have to be aviation, but just that life experience of like what really happens like when somebody loses an important asset or when tragedy strikes somebody, like
Yeah.
how does that feel, you
Yeah.
know?
And for those, and I understand that. So for those younger salespeople that are starting out, it's still doable even without that experience if you're willing to learn from people and hear the stories of things that have happened. So like when
Mm.
if I'm like mentoring, I'll try to explain to them and be like, hey, I've had a couple claim situations. They say X, this has happened. And I think as long as you're open to hearing it, because they can still repeat those stories and say,
True. Oh yeah.
you know, and so it's just being open to understanding and learning. Cause I agree, it's as you get older, obviously, it affects you too, you know. You're like, I worked really hard for that.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want anything to happen to it.
Someone who's coming into this insurance sales, world, what should they expect to make in like their first year versus the third year versus the fifth year? Like what kind of how do get people get paid? I think that's important for people to know. They don't always know that, especially in sales. We can go in different ways. And like what should their expectations be? Are there insurance salespeople that are making $500,000 plus a year? Is it mostly, just a six figure and below? Like, can you pull back the curtain a little bit for us on what that looks like?
Yeah, and this is a very broad question because it kind of depends. Every agency works different. So there are some agencies that will do, maybe a small salary where it's like, I'm making this up. I don't really know exactly, maybe like $50,000. Okay, so it's like
Sure.
something, but you get X amount of commission on every single deal that you write. So if
Hmm.
you write X amount of deals, you're going to be well over that. So it's kind of like a safety net, you know? And then you have
Yeah.
some companies that are going to put you on a draw where they'll say, we'll pay you 200,000 to start and you have to make this in the next 2 years or your draw gets cut. Um, and then, eventually you just start getting on straight commission. Um, Look, you can make a lot of money in insurance, especially in aviation. I mean, it's just who you're working on deals with, what type of deals, especially like the commercial aviation side too. For people
Hmm.
that want to insure like the business side. I mean,
Mm.
there's a lot of money to be had in that, for when you're insuring a charter company or insuring an MRO. Um,
And the commissions are usually based on the premium, correct?
Correct. So if the premium is 900,000, I'm making that up for like a larger company and you get 15% of that, then the
Yeah.
advisor might get us another cut of that amount.
Right.
So,
Okay. So it's like brokering. Okay.
no,
Okay. So yeah.
exactly. So, I mean,
Okay.
you can make a lot of money. I think people can expect to probably in their first year. I mean, I don't know. I
Could you?
would expect that you can make six figures in the first couple years if you work hard, but
Yeah.
the good thing is that a lot of it is on commission, just like brokering. So it's kind of like this. I hate to use a pun, but like the sky's the limit. You can really, that's why I like sales is the more harder you work, the more you get for yourself and things like that. Another thing too in insurance, which is kind of unique at like an agency that I work at, is you can also make money in other ways. So like if I source business, like the commercial business, like the commercial
Mhm.
aviation piece, you can get paid on that too. So there are other ways that you can, you know, configure.
And can you get paid with residuals as well? Like, are you building a book of business that's constantly paying you?
Yep. So I have a book of business, and then you get paid X at new business, and then renewal, you get paid X.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great, thing, because you're selling a product that's supposed to be they're supposed to keep paying for it, right?
Yeah,
Unlike me, when I sell a jet, like I don't get paid on that deal until they go to sell it again. You know what I mean?
correct. Um, and it's really, again, it's a relationship business. So you're really just trying to keep your clients happy and keep them in your book. And hopefully they stay, and you just kind of renew and keep working with them to make sure they have the best premium and product that they can have.
So how does someone kind of get into that? Like, what skills or certifications do they need? Like, can they graduate Embry-Riddle and just like show up at your office and be like, "Hey, are you hiring?" I'll
Yeah,
start selling
absolutely.
insurance.
Great. You have to get a property and casualty license. If
Okay.
not anything crazy, but you do have to take an insurance licensing exam.
But do
And
you
then
need them to finish that and get that on their own before they even talk to you, or will your
no, no,
company or some company pay for it?
no, 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 no. The agency would pay for it and help with, you know,
Oh, nice.
getting it.
Okay.
At least ours. I don't know how other agencies would work, but people can come in with. I had no experience when I started. I was kind of the same way. I was like, okay, I'm ready to do insurance, and so you study, you do the licensing, and then you get thrown in, and nothing is the same as the test. So like
Right,
the real
right.
world is like completely
Exactly that.
different.
Yeah,
Wait,
yeah,
what is this? So it's fun. So if you want to
yeah.
also do external classes, I took the Aviation Insurance Association class. It's called the Core Principles class. It was extremely beneficial. That I feel like is when I turned a corner and what like my knowledge base and what I knew. Um, and you just can continue to learn. Like I'm going to also go to the tax and risk strategies for NBAA in October. So I feel like there's a lot of resources to kind of give you knowledge to kind of keep growing who you are as a broker. It's not like you learn it and then you're just done. You can keep growing.
Gotcha. Okay, so you can come in with limited background, but let me ask you this: do you do the hiring? Are you currently hiring? Like, are insurance agents like hiring
Well, insurance agencies are always hiring.
like they are in,
People
in,
that
in just general
that want
insurance,
to
or is it
learn.
like
Yeah, we would look to hire anybody for private client, for aviation, for commercial lines. It's like, all insurance, I feel like they're open to hiring. It's just for people that want to learn and really want to succeed, want good
are you
talent.
getting a if you're open to hiring, are you getting a flood of inquiries or no?
Yeah, we do get floods of inquiries. You know, I think the aviation side is a little more masked, like in general.
Well, yeah, yeah,
It's
exactly.
interesting, a lot of people want the private client or the commercial. I think I don't know if everybody even really thinks or knows about it. It's like one of those things that are talked about, but people aren't like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to get into aviation insurance." It's kind of like it either falls into your lap because maybe you had like a family member that was in aviation. Just like I feel like it's
Mhm.
one of those things that are going to get more popular and always hiring.
So what makes you pull, like, you got your stack of applications. What makes you pull an application out and be like, okay, it's time? Like, I mean, if you're always hiring, like, is that the case that you're always hiring, or like does your a need and then you just kind of keep a stack and then, okay, how does somebody separate
Well, I
themselves,
can't
like?
even say that like the company is always hiring because first off, it would be the Baldwin Group. I think that they're always open. They're open to good talent. So like
Mm,
it might not even be
mm,
always hiring
fair.
because like that's not really like I guess what I meant. Like if somebody came to the office, like for instance, my brother he's in commercial insurance and he has a friend right now that's interested in insurance, but she's not quite sure. And, so it's like we're always open to those conversations for people that are sales driven and want to
Mm.
work hard and want to learn and be the best at what they do. So I think it's not so much just always looking, it's just we are always open to broadening our team. if it's the right fit.
I love that if it's the right fit, because basically this is sales 101, right? I mean, you can call a prospect, and it's great when they're open, but in some ways it's kind of the hardest prospect, right? Because if you call them up and they say no, they're not interested. I just renewed. Okay, fine. You put them on a list, and I'll go whatever. And if you call someone like, yes, I'm interested, like show me your pitch, like okay, like do your pitch. You kind of know what to do with a yes and a no.
Yeah.
But when I call an owner and like, yeah, I'm open, but I'm not, I don't need to sell. Or yeah, everything's for sale and, with the right price and all that kind of stuff. That's where I think you need to, as an individual, like take the ownership, right? Responsibility is one of our core values. Take the ownership, like, okay, if this is what I want, if I really want this listing, if I really want this job, I gotta find a way
Yeah.
to professionally follow up and make an impression. Like, why should they consider you to sell, to do your insurance, to sell their plane, or to hire you?
Like we said, relationships are important. So
Mm.
I don't want my clients either to just like jump ship because a shiny new person is like, hey, come talk to me. So it's like you do have to prove your value too to a lot of people of why it's worth it to even be able to get the opportunity to do an audit.
Yeah, because I think people will say like, "Oh, I sent an email, to Samantha and she didn't get back to me." Like,
Oh my God.
it's like, come on, like that.
Well, yeah. Yeah. Like, did you pick up the phone? Did you like try to meet with them? Did you reach out on LinkedIn? Did you like, there's got to be so many other ways that you can do it. And also, some people I found like in sales, there are different types of people, like you said. Some people are, oh, yeah, I'm open. I'm open to a quote. There's like those people that are always like, sure. And then there's people that it really is a relationship play too. And especially like those bigger accounts that you're talking about, the bigger deals and the bigger client, it is relationship based. So you do kind of, it might take time too to build, and you can't be impatient. You have to just understand, hey, it might be a year before I get this client, but I'm going to keep working to build the relationship, because one day the agent's going to drop the ball and I'm going to be there. Or one day they're going to just be more open to giving me a chance. So you got to really, it's important to actually build those relationships. I think people like to skip over some of it to just get them in the door. And it's like, yes, some people are going to automatically be like, yes, I want to save money, or, but there are a lot of people that it's not about money. For me, it's like sometimes it's not about money. It's, are you well protected? Do you have the right coverages? Do you fly to Europe? Do you have that right cover? It's like there's a lot of things that you have to build the relationship to get there. And so I think some people just want to like just get an immediate yes, and that's just not the case.
And for me, I love the analogy of a runway, where the more runway you have, the more you can take off. You know what I mean? Like a heavy jet can't take off in a 3,000-foot runway. If you want the Gulfstream, the Challenger, to take off, it needs more runway. So if you're aiming big and you want to talk to ultra high net worth individuals and handle their multi-million-dollar assets and make sure nothing happens to them, really? Okay. I think you're going to need a big runway, as opposed to calling, Joe Schmo, who just got into a car accident, hasn't paid his premiums in 3 years, and now he needs now he needs like the bottom of the barrel non-standard coverage. Like, yeah, that runway is going to be a lot smaller than what you're trying to do. So
we're not going to just give you an opportunity either. A lot of those big those big clients, like they're going to have more of a closed off approach, and it really does take time to build that in, which I understand.
Yeah, and I'm even
more, to be honest.
Yeah, and I'm just from the perspective of a company that would hire, someone to do that, like the Baldwin Group, or whoever else is out there. I talk a lot with BWI Aviation, and they're more GA stuff. But that's I could see them being probably like a little bit of a shorter runway, because it's more GA stuff. Not to knock it or anything, but like just set your expectations right. And that's why we like to say that you got to trade your excuses for the altitude that you're looking for. And when people say, I'll do whatever it takes, like, we're telling you whatever it takes. You just don't like that it's not a magic bullet. You don't like that it's actually building a relationship with someone, which takes a lot of time, energy, and effort.
And it does. And it takes a lot of time, energy, and effort. And then it's also like you don't see the benefit off, right away. And so you're not,
Mhm.
but it really does pay off in the long run. So
That's awesome, Samantha. Thank you so much for. Is there any parting words of advice that you would have for anyone who's looking to break into aviation sales, maybe with
yeah,
little or no experience?
I would say talk to as many people as you can in the
Mm,
industry, you know, network, get to know people, get to understand the industry because the industry is so unique in every single different facet that people are working in, and they all go together. And I would also say work hard and just want to learn everything that you can. And I think the more that you work hard and the more that you don't ever feel like you can't stop learning. Like for me, I feel like I'm the best and I know all of this and that, but I'm always open to picking other brokers' brains. I'm always
mhm.
open to learning from other people in the industry. I'm still, like I said, I'm going to go to that, the risk and that event at NBAA. Don't like, don't ever feel like you are at a point where you can't continue to grow. And I think that when you put the work in, you're going to really see a lot of benefit.
Yeah,
Anybody
no,
wants
that's
to talk,
awesome.
I'm happy to talk to them, further about it. But it's a really great field. I love it. Would never
Yeah,
would not want to do anything else, honestly.
so find you on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Definitely check her out on LinkedIn, especially her posts. She's got some great thought provoking posts for everybody. But yeah, no, Samantha, thank you so much for being here. I greatly appreciate it, and look forward to connecting with you more. Especially in Vegas. We'll see you in Vegas. That'll be a good time.